When I was a graduate student studying architecture at Harvard, I came across in the library a small book on synagogues, and it listed countries where synagogues existed, and India was on the list, and it was new to me. So even though it was several years before I did anything with that information, it just sort of compelled me to pursue Synagogues of India, and it's become something that I continue to do many decades later. It just sort of it intrigued me, and when I discovered it, and so it's become very much a part of my life. So the process has been a long one. I mean, there's so many stories involved. It's quite compelling to know that India is home to over 40 synagogues. Not all of them are necessarily fully functioning, but it's a very rich and dynamic community, and I've just sort of set out to present that to people so that they realize that India is home to these communities of Jews, five or just six distinct communities of Jews, and they've built synagogues that are all over the country from different periods, from different times, and different locations. And it's an incredible story of Jewish history.
Well, I know that when Modi did come here to Israel and I was covering his visit, the Jewish community here that had come from India were so excited. And then I noticed when I was looking through this book, the picture of this book actually being presented to Modi. And Marian, you were in that picture. What was that moment like?
Yes, that was a very exciting moment. Modi was very interested in hearing about the history of the Jews in India and how long they had been there, what kind of professions they were working in, which communities they were in. And later, when he gave a speech at the convention center, he went into great detail about the contributions that Jews in India had made to India.
This is, when people think about the Jews of India, they think of Cochin, I think, that old community which played a role in the spice trade back so many hundreds of years ago. But tell us a little bit more about this community.
Well, I mean, there are 6 distinct communities of Jews in India, and the Kochini Jews are one of the oldest and probably the most known. But they're the Baghdadi Jews, they're the B'nai Israel Jews, they're the B'nai Menashe, the B'nai Ephraim, the Shavei Israel. So there are various communities of Jews that are in India, and 5 of the 6 have built synagogues throughout the country. The oldest and perhaps the most sort of unique and distinct are the synagogues in Cochin, because earlier synagogues were built during the medieval period, but the oldest standing synagogue dates from the mid-16th century, and they're buildings that blend sort of regional and local sort of building traditions and styles with influences of the Portuguese and other European colonialists. They were inspired by the climate, by the environment, by the landscape, and so they really are special synagogues in so many ways for sort of taking local influences and blending them with unique Jewish liturgical sort of influences to create special synagogues.
Jews have had a knack for doing that over some influences of centuries.
Exactly, and there's even some influences of Hindu architecture. I mean, it can go on, but they're very special buildings in that they represent as much Jewish interest as well as local interest when it came to building these synagogues, and they're very well known and rightfully so.
Jay, we just have a few seconds left, but tell me how many Jews are actually living in India today? How big is the community?
Well, you hear 4,000 to 5,000, somewhere in that range. And the community is small. I mean, it is down from its height in the mid-50s when many began to leave, mostly for Israel. But even though it's small, compared to even when I first started visiting 3 decades ago, they've sort of rallied. And in recent years, they've come to realize that they are a small community and sometimes challenged by numbers or by other factors, but they've come to sort of appreciate the synagogues. There have been a number of recent sort of incredible synagogue restorations in the last couple of years to bring these buildings back to sort of beautiful condition. And so I think even compared to a few years ago, and even though they may be smaller than a few years ago, they're more organized and more sort of into their sort of history and into their past. And that includes their sort of respect for these synagogues as landmarks and taking care of them more, restoring them either through private or government efforts. And so the story is a very good one today, and it's a very positive one, even compared to when I started, you know, in the 90s. And so I feel wonderful about that. And the book includes some of these synagogue restorations and how the communities now are maybe smaller but more organized and more energetic and more, and more involved.